The clink of a coffee cup against its saucer was the only sound that broke the monotony of the corner booth. Arthur Pendelton didn't move. His 70 years were carved into the rigid posture of a commander, even though he now wore civilian clothes. It was a ritual, a secular mass celebrated every morning at the same table, with the same black coffee, no sugar. Then, her. The silent waitress, Anya. She moved with an efficiency that made her almost invisible. She approached before he could even signal, the coffee pot already in her hand. She didn't need to be asked. She knew. It was this foresight, this noticing of details that everyone else ignored, that unsettled him. She didn't walk, she patrolled. Her eyes, though lowered, registered every entrance, every movement. She always positioned herself with her back to a wall. Details that a man like Arthur, a man whose mind, trained to dismantle an enemy with a single glance, had never truly been discharged, could not fail to notice. As she leaned over to fill his cup, the smooth sleeve of her shirt slid up by a single, fateful inch. And Arthur saw it. A dark ink stain on her forearm. A stylized wolf, its head bowed as if in perpetual mourning. But it wasn't the wolf that made his blood run cold. It was the eye. In place of the left eye, there was a single, perfect, hollow star. The lone star. A detail no civilian could possibly know. A secret oath taken by a team of ghosts. Arthur's breath caught in his throat. The entire world shrank to that tiny, impossible detail. That eye. He thought, his heart hammering against his ribs. That star. It can't be. That symbol is buried with him. But before we discover why a simple tattoo can shatter a man's world, tell us where you're listening from. It's incredible to see how far our stories travel, and reading your comments gives us a crazy amount of energy. And while you're here, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. For you, it's a simple gesture, for us, it's the fuel that allows us to keep creating. And now, let's return to the oppressive silence of the corner booth. Anya was an enigma. But the real battlefield, every morning, was inside Arthur's head. He didn't come to the corner booth just for the coffee. He came to write. On the table, next to his cup, there was always a black leather notebook and a pen. He was trying to write his memoirs, a book about honor, duty, sacrifice. But the pages were almost all blank. How could he write about honor when his grandson's death seemed so senseless, so devoid of meaning? The words had dried up in his throat, just like his soul. He wasn't just a veteran. He had been a special forces colonel, a man who had planned operations where a misplaced comma could cost human lives. His mind was a weapon. And now, that weapon was turned against himself, tormenting him with a single, devastating question: was it his fault? He remembered the conversation, which had taken place at this very table, years ago. Liam, young and full of fire, had told him of his desire to join the Spectre team. It had been Arthur who pushed him. "You were made for this, kid. You have my blood in you," he had said, with a pride that now burned like acid. He remembered when Liam had shown him the tattoo. "Why is the star hollow, son?" he had asked. Liam had smiled. "It's a star for every brother watching over the others, Grandpa. If one of us falls, his star doesn't go out. It becomes hollow. To remind us every day of the price we pay." Words that now echoed like an accusation. The entire unit, wiped out. No survivors, the official report stated. Cold words that had hollowed out all his certainties, all his speeches about honor. Every morning, he came to the corner booth to face that blank notebook, sitting with the ghost of Liam and the ghost of the man he used to be. And then, he had started to notice her. The waitress. Her discipline, her almost predatory awareness. They were an echo of his own life, a reflection in a broken mirror. She wasn't a distraction from his pain. She had become the center of his mystery. The doubt was a poison that spread slowly. For 2 days, Arthur watched her, fighting the impulse to ask. What could he say? That he was a crazy old man seeing ghosts and a tattoo? But on the 3rd day, he couldn't take it anymore. He was a soldier. An inconsistency was an enemy to be confronted. With an energy he hadn't felt in years, he stood up and approached the counter where Anya was stacking glasses. The conversations died out like candles in a draft. The entire diner felt the shift in pressure in the air. "Miss, Arthur said, and his voice, once accustomed to thundering orders, was now a whisper heavy with trepidation. That tattoo. Anya froze. A glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor, a sharp, violent sound. A conditioned reflex. She instinctively pulled her sleeve down, but it was too late. Arthur didn't raise his voice. He did something far more devastating. He pulled a photograph from his wallet, its edges worn from thousands of touches. He placed it on the counter. A young soldier in desert fatigue smiled for the camera, the sun lighting up his face. And on his forearm, crisp and proud, was the same, identical wolf with the lone star for an eye. "My grandson, Liam," Arthur said, and every word was a crack in his armor. He was Inspector Team. That star. It was an oath they took after they lost their first man. A pact. They told me. They told me no one made it back. Anya's world shattered. Her face, always an inscrutable mask, became a landscape of pure, abyssal pain. She took a step back, grabbing the counter to keep from falling. And when she spoke, her voice was a thin thread that everyone, in the dead silence, heard distinctly. They were wrong. The silence that followed the words "they were wrong" was heavier than any grief. For the first time in 3 years, the dam inside Anya broke. That evening, after closing time, with the chairs still on the tables and the diner bathed in shadow, Arthur was still there. Anya sat down across from him. And the truth, when it finally came out, was more violent than any grenade. "It wasn't a firefight," Anya began, her voice flat, as if she were reading a report to shield herself from the pain. "It was an ambush. An execution. We were sold out." She recounted how their position had been compromised, how they had found themselves surrounded, with no way out, in a labyrinth of rocky canyons. "We were pinned down," Anya continued, her voice growing tighter. "The enemy fire was coming from above. We were finished. Then Eva, our medic, was hit. She was out in the open. No one could get to her. No one except Liam." Arthur held his breath, his old soldier's heart recognizing the prelude to a sacrifice. "He created a diversion, giving me the window I needed to reach her. I stopped the bleeding, but it was too late for her. And as I tried to get back, I was hit. My leg. I couldn't move anymore. I had become an anchor, a dead weight for the rest of the team." Anya swallowed, reliving the horror. "Liam and Marcus, our sergeant, made a decision. The only one they could. They couldn't carry me out. And they wouldn't leave me behind alive to be captured. While the other 2 survivors provided covering fire, Liam and Marcus dragged me to a hidden crevice. Marcus looked me in the eyes and said, 'Survive. And tell our story.' Then Liam gave me his radio and pushed me down." The silence in the diner was now thick with unbearable tension. "They stayed there," Anya whispered, tears streaming down her face without her noticing. "The 4 of them. Against an entire force. They did the only thing a unit like ours does when there's no escape, they sold their lives dearly. They created a wall of fire so intense it made the enemy think they were still a full squad, drawing all the attention onto themselves, away from me. Their last action wasn't to win, but to buy me time. Time to hide. Time to live." Anya closed her eyes, her voice now a broken whisper. "The last sound I heard on the radio wasn't words. It was the sound of the battle. Until there was nothing. Just silence. They sacrificed their last stand to turn my survival from impossible into possible." That confession changed everything. It was no longer just the story of Liam's sacrifice. It was the story of a team of heroes. The redemption that followed was not a wave, but a slow, unstoppable tide. Kyle, the boy who had mocked her, approached her one day, unable to look her in the eye. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "For everything?" For the first time in years, Arthur had a new mission. His notebook was no longer blank. He wrote, not to publish, but to remember. And at the corner booth, he founded the Circle of Spectres. And Anya, terrified at first, became its voice. She told stories of Marcus, the sergeant who dreamed of opening a mechanic shop, and of Eva and her poems. One evening, after everyone else had left, Arthur approached Anya. Without a word, he handed her a small, dark wooden box, worn with time. Anya opened it. Inside, on a bed of faded velvet, lay an old silver compass. She recognized it instantly. She picked it up with trembling hands. "I found it among his things," Arthur said. "It was the first one I ever gave him. I never understood why he held onto it so tightly." Anya looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "Because it wasn't for finding the way," she whispered. "It was a good luck charm. Before every mission, he would polish it meticulously. He said it reminded him of where he came from. That it reminded him of you." She paused. "Before the last mission. He gave it to me. He said, 'You hold this, Anya. You're our true compass. If things go bad, make sure this gets home.' I lost it. I thought I lost it when I was hit." Arthur reached out his old hand and covered hers, which was clutching the compass. It was the first time they had ever touched. "No," Arthur said, with a calm he hadn't felt in 3 years. "You didn't lose it. You came home. And you brought it with you." The owner of the diner, who had witnessed the scene from a distance, smiled. The following week, she had a small gray wolf embroidered on Anya's apron and mounted a simple brass plaque on the wall, engraved with the 8 names of the heroes of Spectre Team. The story of Anya and Arthur extends far beyond the walls of a diner. It is a powerful reminder that echoes within each of us. It's not just the story of a waitress and a veteran. It's the story of how we judge by appearances, how the deepest scars are the ones we cannot see, and how true honor lives not in medals or classified reports, but in promises kept and memories shared. What defines a hero? An act of courage under fire? Or carrying the weight of 8 souls in the silence of a town that judges you, for years, just to protect their memory? Liam sacrificed his life in an instant. Anya sacrificed hers, day after day, for 3 long years. This story teaches us that a person's true worth is not measured by what they show to the world, but by the burden they carry in silence. And now, we want to hear your voice. Have you ever judged someone by their appearance, only to discover a story that left you speechless? Have you ever seen someone carry an invisible weight with a dignity that inspired you? Share your experience in the comments. We read and appreciate every single story. If this video has touched you and you believe its message is important, leave a like and share it with anyone who needs a reminder that behind every face lies a universe to be discovered. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss other stories that dig deep into the human soul. Thank you for staying until the end. Your support is our strength. And remember, sometimes, the quietest souls carry the heaviest burdens, and the smallest of symbols can tell the greatest of stories. See you soon.